Welcome to Shooting the Bull, the official podcast of the Championship Darts Circuit. A casual conversation about the sport of darts, talking about topics of the day from a North American perspective, featuring a cast of characters and contributors from the CDC roster and the world of darts. Now here's your host, Anthony Eugenia.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome in to the latest episode of Shooting the Bull, the official podcast of the CDC. What a wonderful time of year. Brilliant. We turn the page on the calendar. Holiday season is here for dart fans. We've got Happy Dartsmas. Like, everybody's in a good mood, and rightly so. In addition, it's really kind of cool that, we started in February, so it's almost a full calendar year, but we're coming up on a year of Shooting the Bull, and we appreciate your support. We hope you've enjoyed the content, and we're looking forward to more and more great shows as we move into 2025. So I want to thank everybody for joining us on YouTube and Facebook. Please like this episode and share it this evening so everyone can enjoy. Follow us on Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok. You can find us at Champ Darts. So please like and subscribe to those pages. Follow us for all the news and info. Our podcast listeners, welcome in. It'll be up the following day, we hope. So for audio listeners, please give it a 5-star review if you like the product, and we thank you for your support. And we'll have new info later on how to sign up for the newsletter. So stay tuned for that. And if you sign up for the newsletter, of course, you get kept up to date on breaking news, scheduling info, what's going on CDC-wise, ticket prospects for the great events coming in 2025, and all of that good stuff, okay? So without further ado, let's jump into tonight's episode. I am very thrilled to be joined first by a real important cog in the wheel that is the CDC machine. This guy puts in so much extra time that nobody gets to see, and we want to say thanks for that. Like, all of these great images you see tonight, show running on event weekends. This guy is a large part of why things look so good. So please help me welcome in the producer extraordinaire, Jeff McMahon. Bring in Mr.
Hello.
Jeff. There's Jeff. Hello, sir. Welcome in. So Jeff and I are now absolutely thrilled to be joined by one of the original CDC tour card holders, a guy that is just a fierce competitor, but at the same time, just one of the best gentlemen you're ever going to meet. When you talk about great ambassadors for the sport, this is one of them. From the great state of Tennessee, welcome in Jason Brandon. JB, welcome in, brother.
How you doing, guys?
How are you?
We're doing really well. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay. And Jeff, welcome in. It's you're behind the scenes for each and every episode, so really important to get you on with us. How are you doing right now? How are things?
Yeah, things are pretty good. It's Christmas time. It's the holidays. Last episode of the year here. A lot of exciting stuff going on. Always looking forward to making new graphics for different shows, and doing the holidays is always a lot of fun.
Look at those 4 knuckleheads, but they hope to bring you great holiday joy and no coal in the stocking for 2025. So before we jump in, anything, Jason, is there something that you wanted to impart on us? I saw before I went to Jeff. No, okay. So, we know why everybody knows why we've got Jason on, but we're gonna hold on to that for a little bit before we go right into the great stuff that Jason's been up to. We want Jason to first sit with us and put his, analyst hat on with his experience on the circuit, his experience playing overseas, and we're going to jump into the more current news of the day, which is, of course, the PDC Paddy Power World Championships from Ali Pally, okay? So let me set the table with, first some of the big, items that we've seen over the course of the last couple of days. Things kicked off on Sunday, so we saw the defending champ Luke Humphries come through his first match, which is always good for the defending champ to get, brought in by John McDonald as the reigning champion. First win under his belt. So, we'll see him after Christmas. Somebody who we will not see after Christmas, James Wade out to Jermaine Wadamina, 3-0. So James Wade's, woes at the World Championship continues. Gerwin Price wins. So, a former world champion again gets his feet under him, gets a chance to go for Christmas with a W. The recent Grand Prix champion, Mike DeDecker, is out. So, he was somebody who had been talked about for the upcoming Premier League. So Mike DeDecker is out of the competition. A really ferocious Peter Wright wins the other day, and he expressed afterwards, after 2 frustrating years, it was, insanely important for him to get that win under his belt. A lot of great photos from that match. Winning dart goes in, and the roar from the full white beard was incredible. So, Peter Wright, in an interview I saw, he said, he always has a Santa persona for the first round. And he said, I've given out all my gifts all year. There's no more presents for anybody. It's now all about snake bite Peter Wright as he moves forward. Clemens is out, and so another seeded player. And then today, the big news is Michael Smith goes out to Kevin Dutz, 3-2. So Dutz, there it is. And, Dutz gets a little, comeuppance from last year. He really pushed Michael Smith last year on opening night, as Smith was the defending champ. So those are your highlights in terms of the seeds. And now we're going to go into the North Americans. But before we do, Jeff, and then into Jason. So, anything you guys want to add to that about, the overall nature of the tournament, or any of these, highlights that I just went over. So first to Jeff, if you got anything.
Yeah, I just caught the ending of the Michael Smith Dutz match, and that was something else. I know it was a revenge match for him being taken out last year, and the way that he did it in those last 2 games was just something else. I was seriously impressed by how he was able to do that with the big fish, and then just come back and dominate at the end.
So, Jason, your thoughts, not only as a player, but I know you're a fan of the game of the PDC World right now.
Yeah, for me, a lot of the surprises, a lot of the upsets that have happened, Michael Smith today, Gabriel Clemens, James Wade, a lot of those guys, I should be expected, but, for me, it really wasn't. I always expect, the seeds to come through. And, the big match today, though, the Michael Smith match, it was really a good match. And I thought it was going to kind of go all the way to the, 11th deciding leg, but, Dutz, he shot well. He shot well.
Yeah, Dutz is a good player, and like I said, he pushed him last year, and he was featured in the documentary that they just did on Sky, and he feels like a player who's going to start to take that next step into that next plateau. So let's see. Before we go into the North Americans, I had a thought, but now I lost it. So let's jump into the North Americans. So first, let's talk about Leonard Gates. We saw Gates play his first round, last 96 level against Cameron Menzies. He gets through Menzies 3-1, and the first set, he throws 100 average. He was 3 for 3 on the doubles, a big 1-3 out finish. And, that first set was just, in my opinion, I was messaging in private. It was like one of these sets that we've been waiting for, that we know that the North Americans have in their arsenal. Just everything was coming together, and that's where we are in North American darts, where we're at that place where we want to see it just all click, and it was all clicking for him, and that did it for him, and that I think carried him over. Menzies, obviously everybody saw was struggling a little bit, but Gates just did the work that was in front of him, so he moved into round 2, last 64, where he fell to Nathan Aspinall. Neither player played, exceptional. Aspinall just did enough to get over the line. Gates faltered a little bit. His setups weren't great, and that put him in really tough positions. And, Aspinall was just another player who he's had physical struggles, with injury, and mentally he's, it was real important for him. So I saw him share in a post interview about what it really meant to him to get through that. So Jason, I wanted to look up to see some perspective on, you playing Gates this year. You played Gates once outside Chicago in event 7. So, give us your take on, what it's like to play a Leonard Gates, and then, what you saw from Soldier in those 2 matches.
Yeah. He was playing really well in the first match against Cameron, but like my experience with him, you have to be on your game against him. You cannot miss. You have to be on your A game. 99% of the time playing those guys, playing Gates and Spellman and all those, in the CDC, you have to be on your game. And for him playing Menzies, he played lights out, in my opinion. I mean, I know he's got other levels too, but the doubles, he had like 3 or 4 ton plus finishes. He just didn't have it, in the game against Aspinall. He didn't produce the outs. He was there, for the most part, but Aspinall probably wasn't on his game, all the way either. But I was thinking he was going to get that last, the 4th set and take it to the decider and then maybe pull it out. But, it just unfortunately.
Which we've seen Gates do as well. Gates has shown that he's not just a front runner, we saw him in, we're going to analyze Jim Long next, but that kind of, to marry those two, we saw at the CDC Continental Cup that went all the distance, and that was both players were in the lead. Jim had, I think, at least a 2-leg lead, and we saw Gates settle in and come back. So that definitely is an aspect to his game. Jeff, anything from you and from the Gates, excitement there of, North America getting one on the W column and moving into playing Aspinall?
No, it was just what you said. It was exciting to see one of our own guys advance. I don't want to move ahead too much, but same with Campbell this evening. It was a good showing. I wish he would have gone further, but I was lucky enough to meet Aspinall this past June at MSG, and all those guys are just real down-to-earth guys like Jason. So it's a best man win scenario for me. I don't necessarily have favorites. I enjoy all the guys.
Yeah, Jeff touched on it, and there's no, we're going to analyze it, but there's no harm in touching on what we're looking at. Like, we settle in tonight at this episode of Shooting the Bull on Thursday night, and I got to tell you, whoever scheduled these episodes is absolutely brilliant. Because we saw all four North Americans play. We have 4 enter the competition. We've got 2 wins in round 1, 2 losses in round 1. So we're batting 500 from a North American perspective. And then we'll also touch on the CDLC representative, Rashad Sweeting, who didn't get through his first round, but definitely added a lot of excitement. So let's transition from Gates discussion into our own KJ McGlynn was on site and caught up with Leonard to discuss what it does feel and what it's like to be in the spotlight.
You've got a lot of attention this time. Sky Sports, CNN. Like, how has it been to be doing some of those interviews?
Man, it's like a whirlwind. Growing up, I didn't want to be on camera. I didn't want to take pictures, but look at me now, man. I'm all over the billboard, so it's a great feeling. Families, that's one thing that's important. they're backing me. They're amazed by what I'm doing. I thank the fans that I have back at home for, logging on, following, supporting, and everything. I've been getting a lot of messages. I mean, it's just a great time right now, So I'm excited.
How does it feel that you were welcomed? I mean, there was USA chants going on when you were up there. Just knowing that people know you in this legendary place.
Man, it's kind of I'm gonna say kind of, but it is a great feeling because, they recognize us all the way over here from America, and we got more guys coming each year and doing fabulous things over here. So that's a big plus for me.
All right, so some words from Gates, and I did have some stats pulled up, but I think we pretty much did some good analysis on that. And as a reminder as well, I was remiss to mention to everybody, we've got a very vibrant chat room, so we want to welcome everybody in as we're live in the chat. So please give us your comments and questions, and we may, get to some interesting questions as we, end the show later on this evening. Want to say hello to a couple people in the chat right now. Jeff Springer, the Stinger, a CDC tour card holder, and was over there rooting on Jason over in Lakeside, so we'll get that in the second segment. Our own Peter Cetera up there in London, up way too late. Missed the CEO of the CDC. It is past your bedtime, sir. Get to bed. You've got important meetings in the morning. And then lastly, I see the Godfather from Online Darts. So another gentleman in England right now joining us. So we appreciate the support, appreciate staying up late to sit in on Shooting the Bull. So now let's progress. Next player to look at is Jim Long. So Jim Long took on James Hurl in the first round. So we should have some little video to talk over. So let me look up. Okay, so now we've got Hurl. Jim doesn't get past James Hurl. He falls 3-0. Want to look at some of the averages. Yeah, averages, for both players, a little low. Certainly for Jim, it goes without saying that the performance we saw was, not Jim Long-esque, right? So Jim will be the first one to be very disappointed in that. And I think disappointed in not just that, we're sending quality guys over, people that get through CDC qualifications through the circuit and the major events, are certainly earning it, and they have a right to be there, but Jim has had just a fantastic year. 2 weekly wins on Modus, some successes on the seniors, so I think Jim was coming in probably as highly touted as any of the North American roster, right? So, in that regard, we know obviously that he was pouring his heart out, but, for what the potential and what we've seen leads into the, disappointment of the results that Jim got. Not just the loss, but as you can see in there, missed doubles. Scoring wasn't where we see there. So again, I set up Jason. Jason's got a history here. I'm pulling up, CDC competition. I got our little stats database on the side here. And, Jason tussled with Jim in the cross border earlier this year. So Jason, give us, what you saw, from your experience. You're a savvy competitor, experienced competitor. You've now tasted, the stage, and you've played Jim. So give us your take on Jim's World Championship match.
Yeah, Jim coming in, I can say I've not had much success against Jim. I might have won maybe one match over the years against him. Very tough competitor.
Sportsmen. They bingo. It's in all fairness, it's 4-1 Jim. Like you guys, these players know what's going on.
Oh yeah. It's hard. You remember the ones you lose more than you do you wins. But going in, I actually missed the match. I was at work that morning, and I did see the highlights, and I saw where he had said he wasn't really comfortable up there. But going in, I was expecting really a lot from Jim because he was really riding a high, in my opinion. With the Continental Cup, the Modus, the seniors. He's been playing really well. at home and overseas.
Yeah, you know what?
And
Like, I should be admonished, and I'm sure my CEO will admonish me. I give Jim all his other credits, but we watched him raise trophies on the CDC circuit this year, runner-up in the Cup. We famously talked all year that he's in a race with David Cameron. So, shame on me that I don't first and foremost give you the CDC stats. But thank you, Jason. That's why we got Jason on.
No, I know, of course, everybody's over, I'm sure everybody over here is rooting for all the North Americans, over there doing that. And, but nobody's going to be disappointed any more than Jim was in that match. And, it's tough to see, I think we've all been there, even, not necessarily on that stage, but, we've all been there, coming in on a high and not performing where, you think you should or where you have been previously. And then, it's tough. It's tough.
And in those moments, when is I don't know if you'd be able to answer this, but when is the moment? When you think maybe you might even be practicing well, but when it's in that spot, and at what point do you like, boy, they're not going? Right.
I've had several of those moments over the years.
Well,
Continental Cup.
Everybody has, I'm sure.
Yeah, a lot of the CDCs, and even I know you'll touch on it later against Paul that night in the semis at Lakeside. That was just, it was not like the other three. They were just not falling, and you're not going to have it every time you get up there. As bad as you want it and as good as you've been playing, you're not going to have it. You're not going to win everything you play in. And
so it's just
it's
the
tough,
magic.
No matter how bad you want it.
It's that cruel mistress we talk about. That is darts. That right. That there are just nights where it looks as big as a swimming pool, and the next night you cannot literally buy a double. It's just it's what makes this game wonderful and brutal all at the very same time.
Yeah, it's one of them games you love to hate.
You love to hate, absolutely. So now let's progress then. Jeff, anything on Jim? I know you followed Jim this year behind. As you do in production, you get to see players come in and out on our feature board. So your take on Jim this year and the World Championship.
He played so much better this past season in the CDC and on Modus 2 than he showed on the stage up there. I don't know if it was nerves or the trip, or some days I guess you just don't have it. But he was certainly a guy that I was rooting for. We spent a little bit of time with him behind the scenes, and him and his wife are A+ people. So it was a shame to see him go out so early, and the way that it happened too. But he's also a guy that's very focused, so I don't believe that he'll have any problem bouncing back next season.
No, certainly not. Quality players. Jason, a thought on that?
Oh no, I was agreeing. I didn't have nothing. I was totally 100% agreeing. I think he'll be, it'll sting for a little bit, but he'll bounce back and he'll be better. Certainly. He'll be better to come next season.
And it's also sort of an acknowledgement of the event. This is the World Championships. Everybody's stepping on that stage where you look across them, whether they're on the marquee and the poster or they came from another part of the world. They had to come through a tough qualifier themselves. So everybody stepping onto that alley pally stage has some quality darts in them, and it is some nights just who has it. Just that small, iota of a difference. And, speaking of that, let's smoothly go into the next North American to play. And that was Stowe Buntz. Stowe Buntz played this afternoon in the States, evening in London. He opened up tonight's session. He took on Nick Kenny, who, is a player that, had, a good amount of pressure on his own shoulders. He's looking to retain a tour card, I believe, and, Stowe loses the match 3-0. But we saw he, did score pretty well early, just seemed to falter a little bit as that match moved into sort of the second phase, the sort of setup phase. And quite honestly as well, I think from a North American perspective, Stowe's a guy just like Jim. We saw him play really well in Modus, saw him have a good year on the CDC circuit, win an event this year. Obviously earns his way into World Championship. So inherently, that does build a little pressure. That's like the next phase, I think, that our players are going through, right? The pressure of expectation, in this whole CDC thing. It was, let's play here. Let's start to get those averages up, knock heads here, get everybody better. And now they are better, and they're performing better in roles when there's cameras on. And that then leads itself to expectations, right? That the players also feel, overseas fans know your name now. Ask for an autograph when you're out at dinner with the missus on a trip, or you're out, practicing somewhere. So, it's a new sort of phase. Now, at a glance here, first off, well, let me go to Jeff first, because let's break it up a little. So, Jeff, give me a little bit on Stowe Buntz. I know you've kept your eye closely on Buntz in the last year.
Yeah, I mean, the pressure that Jason and the guys feel up on stage has to be almost immeasurable. I say a prayer to little baby Jesus every time I go to hit the start button to produce the shows, to make sure that nothing, goes wrong, God forbid. And that's just me behind the scenes pointing the cameras at you guys, right? He is, he's something else. He was on a tear this past season on the CDC, and he showed well last fall when he went overseas, and I think expectations were very high. I spent some time with him and his wife Crystal, two fabulous people, manager as well. Brian, I've done some artwork for them, some fun stuff on the side, and it was a shame to see it go out. Again, some days you have it, some days you don't, and I mean his opponent Kenny took out again a 170 for the match, so he was on.
So now let's thank you, Jeff. Now let's turn to Jason a little bit, and then we look, and you and Stowe have tussled quite a bit. Jason's starting to put a smile on his face this season by the nature of the seeding this year. Couldn't get past you 5 times you played in Brownsburg this year. So give us two-part question. Give us first give us Stowe, and then we'll talk about your experience on stage.
Yeah. No, man, Stowe is tremendous. He's a tremendous player, tremendous competitor, and, one of the nicest guys you'll meet out there. He's, super guy. And we had some matches this year. I only won, I think maybe one of those in Brownsburg, but we were looking at it. We were, knew was on the same board all weekend, and we met every event that weekend. Yep. And it's tough. And I know part 2 what you just said, going back, when I played at Madison Square Garden last year in 2023, I was talking to Peter Cetera afterwards, and what we do over here really can't prepare you for that stage. What we play on like a floor event, the only thing we have that's even partially comparable would be the Continental Cup or the Cross Border Challenge. And other than that, we don't have any stage. Everything we play is real super quiet. It's got to be real quiet. And then you get out there and you get thousands of people screaming. It's hard to focus. It's hard to get in the mode.
And that's why we do, why we have a desire to do those that we do put on, the 2 that you mentioned, and increase them, because that's what we want to do. We want to get you that experience. But now yourself, like you said, we've got MSG, we've got the Lakeside run that we'll get to. You've obviously won a whole bunch of other stuff. So how do you feel about that? How do you going in with levels of expectations? What does that do to you as a player?
It's obviously the more you do it, the more experience, the better off. I believe that my bad matches at MSG last year did nothing but prepare me for Lakeside this year. I knew what more to expect because MSG, I was the first guy coming out both days, and never doing that before. I really didn't know what to expect. I can't say I felt nervous, but obviously something was going on because I couldn't focus. I was hearing conversations as loud as it was. I was hearing conversations on the front row, of the crowd.
Sure.
And I just couldn't block anything out. And it's a whole different animal in those venues than it is, anything that we play over here.
I have to use the line, not necessarily directed at you, but one of the best lines I've heard in the last decade. Chris Mason explained that there's no way to practice pooping your pants. So there's just some things you have to experience, get through them, and be better for it as you're laying out. Nothing can prepare you for going, holy cow, I can hear them talking about dinner reservations in the second row or whatever, and it being so unexpected that, I'm in the second leg here of this first, match, and I can't figure this out.
No, go ahead.
Just the odd things of that nothing can be replaced by the actual experience of it.
Yeah. Now, and I'll touch on this just a little bit because at the same time, in my match with Duff at Lakeside, he was getting rattled by fans, chanting, hollering at the timing, and it wasn't really bothering me. I wasn't really hearing it. And then when I go back and I watch the match later on, I'm like, wow, they were hollering for Duff right when I'm standing to the line and I'm about to throw, but I was blocking it out. It wasn't bothering me at all. And it's weird how some nights you can tune everything out and go, and then other nights, it's impossible. It's a funny game.
Just that mysterious it factor, the zone. How does one specifically define what the zone is? You just can't, but you're in it when you're in it. It's there in front of you, and everything is just moving perfectly. So let's go from Mr. Neon Nightmare to the player that shared the stage with him in this evening's session. We saw the Ginger Ninja take on Mensur Sulovic in a round one contest. So, Matt, this is his sixth consecutive year playing in the PDC World Championship, which I just think is phenomenal. Obviously, Mr. Part leads the pack in terms of Canadians, North Americans, without a doubt. Darren Young has a good boatload of appearances and certainly in a consecutive order. And if I'm leaving anyone out, I apologize. But my point being that we all need to acknowledge what a great accomplishment that Matt Campbell is in the middle of. You know what I mean? This is six and counting, right, in a really tough atmosphere. Tour card holder goes to the qualifiers. What a fun day that was. I was privileged to be doing a show and watching that go down to the very last leg, and Matt gets in. So, just the fact of Matt being there once again is a massive accomplishment. Last year was his best showing. We watched as he progressed, beating James Wade last year. Met Luke Littler in the round of 32, which I was privy to be there. And it reminds me I should share a story about that. Is this the right place? Is this the place for me to interject a personal story? Maybe it is. What do you say? All right.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, Matt Campbell. Matt Campbell's playing Luke Littler last year, and I was privileged and blessed the first time ever to go to London for the World Championships. So I get there, fly in overnight, middle of the morning session. I'm just devastated. I can't go to the darts. I need some downtime. I get to the evening session, and it doesn't really dawn on me. First matchup is Matt Campbell against Luke Littler. The first game I'm ever going to see in the PDC World Championships in London. My mind is just doing somersaults. This is insane. But I want to really bring you back 10, 15, probably 20 years ago and explain why that moment was so personal. And I haven't even told Matt this. When it was completely obvious that I was never going to be on that stage as a player, because I did throw some arrows for a little bit. I remember watching the World Championships, like I said, probably about 20 years ago, and watching a player come down that row and, you know, give a hug to his supporters, you know, and I don't know if they mentioned that, who the person was, but it dawned on me, like, that's the guy behind the guy. That's the guy who helped the guy get on stage. And that's who I wanted to become. Like, that's when I really got the bug to be like, I want to help the player get to the stage, whether it be as, you know, management, whether it be financial. As it turned out, it started to be as an organizer. So I was in that little section when the intros came on. Littler got introed first because he was unseeded, unranked, the whole deal. I actually kind of hid because I didn't want to be on. Nobody knew I was in London except I think 2 people. Hid down. So even if you see Littler, I'm actually behind those grates. And then he goes on stage. I come up. Matt comes down. And as he comes down, he gives me a, you know, good sort of handshake, embrace sort of thing. And I'm going through my head, I'm finally at the World Championships like I looked 20 years ago. And I helped the guy get on stage. And it was a mind-blowing experience and something that I will never forget. And as you can imagine, the phone blew up from the CDC group. Is that Eugenia? What is he doing in London? So that was a lot of fun. And yeah, I've been holding on to that story, and I'm glad I got a chance to share it. So, you know, Matt last year made that run, so it was there, and that's, you know, so here we come into this year playing Mensor. Matt gets through today, 3-2. Let's look at some of his numbers. Matt played extremely well. Where is that info? There we go. You know, Matt, 93 average, 160 checkout, about 40% on his doubles. But, you know, Matt looked really good, even when Mensor, you know, made a little pushback. You know, Matt stayed firm. Matt looks in that good Matt Campbell form, right? So now he moves on to take on Ryan Searle on the Sunday, December 22nd. It'll be first thing in the morning. The session will open up 7:30 Eastern, and he'll be the first match on. So, Jeff, give me a little Ginger Ninja take, and, you know, us all jumping around in the CDC chat today about Matt Campbell putting away the gentle in Zulovic.
What I liked about Matt was it seemed like he was ready to be there. Didn't seem fazed by anything. He really, the presence was he was going to win. I was thoroughly impressed with him. You know, the experience that he's been on that stage several times before, I think showed today. So he felt like he was supposed to be there, and he was.
So, Jason, I look up a little experience against Matt from a CDC perspective. I'm sure you may have come across him, but, you know, but just being on the, you know, CDC roster, you know, watching him, you know, play and practice and all that stuff. So give me your take on not only Matt today, but your experience with Matt as a competitor.
Oh yeah, today Matt looked great. I mean, he looked like he was really focused and into the game. You know, I know he struggled at the beginning of the season, and for him to make bounce back and, you know, I think he made a couple of runs at some of the pro tours towards the end of the season. You know, maybe, you know, some decent deep runs, maybe not real deep, but, you know, some good runs into it, got him some matches. Then that qualifier, you know, he played, you know, I'll be honest with you, I don't think I was expecting him to make it, but when I heard it, I was ecstatic that he made it through. And, yeah, I hope he continues it, keeps this run going. But as far as me, I think I've played him once or twice in the CDC. Of course, I don't think I won a match against him. And
yeah, the only, you know, Matt's been, you know, now with his card and hasn't played CDC for a bit. So last time you played him was 2019. So it has been a little bit.
Yeah, I think it was the semis in Chicago, and he got me like 6-3.
Man, oh man, I love these. Man, you guys are spot on in Wheeling, Illinois, outside of Chicago, semifinal of Event 8, 6-3, Matt Campbell.
It's crazy some of the stuff I can't remember. Some of the stuff like that I can't remember.
I forgot the milk, but I remembered 2019 playing Matt Campbell.
Exactly, absolutely. But no, man, it's a great competitor, great guy, man. He's a super nice guy. But there's really not. I don't think there's anybody that I don't get along with, out on the tour or anything like that. So, I just hope he continues his run and keeps it going for North America.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got Searle, who is in good form himself, but I think that's a match that is winnable. Tough, but winnable for Matt Campbell.
Yeah, as long as he can hit his outs and hit his doubles, keep his scoring. He can score with anybody, and if he can hit his outs, he's got a great shot, I think.
So that's there's your take on the 4 North Americans, and Matt Campbell is your North American still alive in the contest. As we said, we'll see him on Sunday. Now we turn our attention a little southbound to the
Anthony?
CDLC. Yes.
Would you like to hear from Matt?
Word.
Yes.
Yeah, let's hear from Matt on his.
It really seemed like from the get-go you were very confident.
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't playing his best, so I had a little bit of confidence, but it was still, I wasn't playing my best, so kind of, I think, affected both of us in the same point.
Did you feel like when things leveled up, was there any doubt in your mind?
No, because once I missed the 6 darts or whatever it was his throw, so it really wasn't that important to me, to be honest.
And at this point, you've had a little bit of time for it to sink in. Celebrating a win, how soon do you start looking forward to the next match?
Right now.
Right now is right. There's it's stay in beast mode, stay in frame of mind. It's still the week of the. He's got a match. There's no holidays or anything. So Matt Campbell is going to stay dialed in, and will take on Ryan Searle. So thank you, Jeff, for that. We didn't want to miss out on that piece. So now we turn our attention to the CDLC, the Championship Darts Latin and Central American representative, and that was Rashad Sweeting from the Bahamas. So he came through a couple of events this year that were run down in I think Chile and probably I think in Jamaica this year. So let's hear first from Rashad about what getting to the World Championship will mean for the Bahamas and the region in general.
It's a bridge. It actually is a big opportunity for a lot of players that feel that there was no chance of getting here or they had to go somewhere else. Now they could go to the CDLC, which is awesome.
Rashad, many congratulations.
Thank you.
Wonderfully. Do you feel now that the torch has been passed in a sense, not only that you're representing the Bahamas, but now you are the torchbearer for all of Latin America?
Yeah, I feel that. There are some youths that I really focus on, that I want them to see that it's your time. I made it here, and you could do the same, even better.
And what a great story this turned out to be. This is, I was talking to a friend. This is what makes events like the World Championship and the Olympics so compelling, is when you get these stories. This guy from the Bahamas hits the stage. Now, let's be honest. It's not unreasonable to expect that he's going to be overwhelmed by the moment. He actually had difficulty getting on stage on his walk-on. It's a first time there. Music's going off, not sure to make a left or a right. So is he going to be overwhelmed on that stage? And he absolutely was not. It was incredible. He opens up. He wins the first set. He's playing Jeffrey DeGraff, wins the first set. He's up in the second set, on the verge of possibly taking that second set, and we'll go back to what happened in the end of that second set, because I want to hash that out a little famous 180, But he's having a good time. In his wildest dreams, do you think he expects that the room is going to start chanting, Sweeting, Sweeting, my goodness, that's it's $1 million. A lottery win there to have a crowd like that. He eventually does fall to Jeffrey DeGraff 3-1, but like you saw the I think John Part was doing commentary. It was like, based on this performance, like, now he certainly justified his qualifications. I think they ran just a handful of events, but he won 2 of them. Like, what a brilliant performance from the guy up there. And like I said, we're gonna have a little fun with his 180 shot. But you guys, Jason, what about this dude from the Bahamas just going up there and owning the Ali Pally stage?
Right. I thought it was awesome, even though that was, again, a match that I had missed. And I did get to see the highlights, but because of work. But now, hey, I'm off work.
Yeah, that's tough. We got to put food on the table. Match at 8
Right.
a.m. in the morning. You know what I'm saying? It's tough.
Exactly. I am off now until the 6th, so I get to see the rest of it from here on out. So, yeah,
Me
absolutely.
too. Today was my last day of work. There's a lot of coffee pods going to be ready for early mornings with the darts.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, no, I think it was great. The highlights I did see, he looked composed up there for the most part, And, I don't know if anybody saw it coming, it being his first time, like you said. It seemed to be he'd be overwhelmed, but he took it in stride.
It was amazing. He shot well and took the moment in stride. And Jeff, you're nodding in agreement there. Like, yeah, the dude looked like he belonged up there, right?
Rudy, it was awesome to see him up there, and I can't wait to see him back if he makes it back. And that's pretty much all I got for you, Anthony.
So now give me Rashad's take, and then I'll set the table for well, you know what? No, before you go to the 180, right? So This is the scene. It's the deciding leg. Was it the deciding leg? Yeah, it was the deciding leg in the second set. Rashad's up 1-0, so he puts this away. He's up 2-0, and it's first to 3 sets. So he's at 194. The graph is at 107. First 2 go in the triple 20. Crowd starts riling up. They want him to go for it. I saw in private somebody said that he got suckered, right? And he went for it. But he went for it and he hit it. All right. So he hit it. Now we'll discuss it after the clip. Let's and then he did a little. It's called, what is it? A cold palmer. It's called. I looked it up. It's Cole Palmer from a football squad over in England. So I looked it up. He's doing a little sign to the crowd. So let's play that, and then we'll discuss it coming out of it.
And there was a fan that actually wanted me to do something after he hit a 180, so I was like, I'm going to do it. When I hit the 180, I do the cold shoulders thing, and hopefully they saw that and they were watching. Fans, I love you all. I love you, man. And the next time it comes to 180 and me leaving me on a double, crowd, I'm not going to do it. I'm sorry. You could boo me, but I'm not going to do it.
Well, I'll get the boys' input on that, and then I'm going to tell you why I believe he should go for it. He should have gone for it, and he should go for it again. But I love that it's called fan service. He was listening to the fans, and he went for it. So go ahead, Jason. I could tell you got a little input on this one.
Well, conventionally, I probably wouldn't, but at the same time, seeing a lot, having more experience at it now, the 180 right there could be huge because it's leaving you on a 1 dart out, a 1 dart double, and it puts the pressure on the other guy that they have to take it, or you're right there to steal it from them. And so it may not be conventional, but it's a great shot. It's not. To me, there's nothing wrong with it.
Jeff?
I would have gone for it because regardless of the outcome, you'll always have that memory if you hit it with the crowd going nuts. And that's exactly what happened.
Well, there's my first item, right, is the fact that, hey, we hope he's there again, but, there's a good chance, this could be my only spot up here ever, right? So let's hit the 180 World Championship. Everybody goes bananas. And exactly, this is now something that no matter what he does, he takes with him forever. Now, I got the idea when somebody said he got suckered. I would have been okay with that if he missed, right? If he goes for it and doesn't hit it, but he hit it, so he cashed in on the lottery ticket, right? He hits it, crowd goes crazy. He does the cold palmer thing, and but now it's what he does next. Now, this is where I'm going to defend it a little bit, in my opinion. Now, I know what the thinking is, right? So here's where he is, everybody. So he's got one dart in his hand, and he's got 74 points remaining. His opponent is on 107, and it really, in a way, doesn't really matter what his opponent is on anyway. But it's 107, so it's not as it's 107's not 164, but it's still a ton plus checkout, right? So it's a 107. It's still going to be a decent ask. Okay. Turns out the guy cashed in on it, but we'll get there in a second. But, so now we've got 74 one dart remaining, right? So even if he does miss, like he gets talked into going for it. All right, so if he misses, single 20, he's got 54. Okay, so it's a one single to two darts at a double. I know the conventional wisdom I would think would be triple 14, going for 14s, which hit the triple, leaves 32, or triple 18, 54, leaves double 10, okay? So whichever way you want to go there. But let's just talk the math of it, right? The math says that your odds of hitting the triple are less than hitting a single. So let's assume he takes that one dart and throws it at the 14s, hits a single, 60 left, one dart to two darts at a double, 54, 74 with the 18, hits a single 18, 56, one dart, 16, two at tops. So they all essentially equate to the same thing, so he wasn't, in my opinion, necessarily putting himself in a hole. One could argue then that he puts the triple in. Now he gets three darts at a double at the double 7. But I actually also defend, I was impressed that he did go to split it. I didn't want to see him get so jumpy and overly excited that he hit the 180 that he then just sort of haphazardly slings it at the double 7, right? And hits a single 7. So I was actually more impressed that he had the forethought to sit back for a second. 14, basically the 10-6s, you're looking at a wedge that big to hit one dart, and now you've got your two darts at a double, right? So which is what he does. He hits the 6. He's got two darts at double 4, and double 4 is not going to be horrendous because you've now got, as opposed to the 7, which is 7 leads you to have to fix it, which is still, a 3 to a double 2. The 2 leads you down to double 2, right? So you could inside, so you're still throwing at two darts at a double. So there's my defense of Rashad Sweeting going for the 180. I didn't see it as much of a, I don't want to say disaster, but some people thought that really was, a miscalculation and a bad decision, so much so that cost them the match. Cost them the match was not hitting the double 4, but I think getting there was an okay route.
He hit that 180. He was hanging just a little bit lower after he did that, and I guarantee there's going to be some kind of endorsement deal down the road. So I think he did the right thing.
Well, okay. So I know I could see it in Jason's mouth. He's got something, but what you just said too, like Paddy Power, the sponsor steps in, right? They're giving away to, adding up the 180s for charity. So they said, hey, great job hitting the 180. They just paid for his flight and his accommodations for the World Championship.
There you go.
So boom, he just got his trip paid for by, hot dogging it a bit, but it worked out for him. So go ahead, Jason.
I don't know. All I was going to say is, at that stage, a double is a double. Double 7's not the best out, but, at the same time, it's a double. Any of the doubles on the board, it don't matter. If you hit it, it don't matter. That's all.
If you hit it, you're the hero, and that's basically it. You've got to step in and put it through. So, that's the fun I wanted to have.
That's not bad either.
I mean, there's the only place, like I said, I was okay with the split, but I can see that, like, you've got 3 at a double. So to split, you're throwing one away when you don't have to, but again, that single 7 that is a perilous spot. So that I can see the argument of going just mentally. Nobody loves that double 7 area. Just nobody does.
No, and it's disastrous if you hit it with you miss outside and then you pull it inside on the second dart, then
you're completely sunk.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, I think that would have been dirt on the coffin of that decision. But but again, he throws 2 for double 4, so there he is. So
Right.
that's a blast. And I'm looking at the time. I know we've gone super late, but I think that was just a lot of fun looking at the PDC Worlds. So we're going to now dive in a moment with Jason. We're going to step away just for a second, catch our breath. We got a little promo for the CDC Q School series, and then we're going to come back with Jason Brandon and dive into his experiences at the Lakeside. All right, ladies and gents, let's progress. So we are here. Our guest for the evening is Jason Brandon, and I'm also joined by Jeff McMahon, our producer for the podcast. Also want to say hello to KJ McGlynn, our showrunner. So we're going to dive into Jason's recent experiences on the WDF circuit. I want to set up bring people back to October, WDF Masters in Budapest, Hungary. Jason makes it into the quarterfinals of that event, where he meets pretty informed Connor Scott, a player that, a lot of people, that conversations about, best players without a tour card, that's going to change as he goes into 2025. But Jason meets him in the quarters. Connor gets the best of Jason, 5-1, but Connor puts up a 110. Mr. Brandon, JB, throws a 105, and that sort of put a lot of people on notice. I mean, obviously, we know you've got it there, but, worldwide. So give us a little bit about that moment, and then I want to tie that into then going into England.
Oh, yeah. I was playing probably some of the best darts of my life, and wasn't even getting a chance at a double. There was one leg, I'm sitting on 41 after 9, and he checks 127 on the bull, and what can I do? I'm just sitting there laughing. I'm applauding. He walks back to me. I fist bump him, and I'm like, I look back at people. What am I supposed to do with that? That's what I'm saying. And I got one dart at a double. Thankfully, I hit it. But he was phenomenal that day, man. He was on fire, and it felt great to play that good, even though,
of course. Yeah, of course. And it's gotta leave you, you're heading out of Hungary with brimming with confidence, right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
now what does that do in preparation? At that time, you're at Lakeside. I'm not sure if everything had settled. You knew you were going to be a seed. Ultimately, you're the 11th seed. You know what I mean? So even there in October, good performance, a little taste of, the bigger scene, if you will. So we know Lakeside's on the horizon, less than 2 months away.
Yeah.
So how does that start to set your preparation up for 2 months from now, Lakeside? What a good performance this was. Now we're going to go into Lakeside and do some damage.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was huge for my confidence going in, coming out of the Masters like that. Even, the matches before Connor, Dave Ladley, I think I averaged in the 90s. It was one of my better matches. I played Benjamin Prattnamer right before that, and then Kevin Luke. He was in my bracket, which he was in my bracket the last time we was at the Masters in Amsterdam. And but yeah, the confidence coming out of there and knowing I was already secured for Lakeside. I was ready for Lakeside to start that next week, to be honest with you. And I only had a couple of tournaments after that before, because I missed Seacoast. I did play Choo Choo right before we left, and that was it. Just a little bit of practice at home online, and a couple of tournaments here and there, and that was it. But Yeah, huge,
You're,
huge for my confidence coming
yeah,
in, going
yeah.
into Lakeside. Yes.
So you're chomping at the bit for Lakeside. And before we get to Lakeside, I want to touch on family stuff because I've always been so impressed. So I want to see if we can get some good behind the scenes stories. I've seen so many times when we've, either we've put on events as I'm part of CDC for those who don't know, or, other events. Yeah, I've watched you. I think your boy went out with you to LA one year, right? You hit the car show, you meet Jay Leno. Another event
Yeah.
we're doing in New York, you wind up at Citi Field, and Colin Cosell's giving you the red carpet treatment, So I've always loved that, things that you've gotten a chance to experience, you want to now take your family and create lifetime memories. So between Hungary and England, who's traveling with you, if anybody, and what was going on off the Aki?
Yeah, I will say most of the traveling, I love to travel. And of course, my family loves traveling too. I try to, get that experience for all of them too. But we love not just, I'll say most of my traveling has come because of darts. But
Yeah.
most of the stuff I've seen has been because of darts. But we usually try to make a vacation on either end of it to where we can see, we like seeing the historical stuff, sightseeing, seeing stuff we hadn't seen before. And Budapest, my daughter went with me, Kalayana. She played in the the women's masters and everything. She didn't make it out of her group. She was kind of in a little slump, but she come out of it, pretty well right now. And of course, she's got her CDC card that she got by the NADA event at Music City last year. And she played, went a couple weekends with me, and she's going to go with me to all of them this coming year. And, we'll see how it goes from there. My wife went with me to England, and we were there about a week ahead because I'd never been there. She had been there earlier in the year with Clayana, because she went and played in the women's series in Wigan. So they did a lot of sightseeing before, and then we did a lot of sightseeing when I went. And the way the schedule played out for Lakeside, it worked out perfect because I knew I had to be there prior to the tournament, not knowing if I had to play Friday or if I had to play Monday or Tuesday. But the way my schedule set up, my first match was like was on the last night before you get into the rounds where you play. So
yeah,
I didn't have to play on a Saturday and then come back on a Tuesday or something like that. I played Wednesday, I won, I played Thursday, and so on, which worked out great, as far as that goes.
Yep. And that just started to, as we're going to lay out in a second, just started the snowball. And I want to remind everybody in the chat, if you have any questions for Jason this evening, get them in there, or comments of support. Great new dart fan from Texas, Erin, says, great job, Jason. Way to represent. So like you talked about, so let's look at the Lakeside. So now you show up at Lakeside, and before the games even start, we talked about this event being a lot now, not just an opportunity to play in a WDF World Championship, but to play at a real iconic place. And how did it feel to go, not just, I think, twofold, dart fans' perspective. This is a place that, Phil Taylor's won a world championship, Eric Bristow, Jockey Wilson, John Lowe, Raymond Van Barneveld, and I could keep going, these monumental. But then also, I know personal heroes and friends of yours, Roger Carter being one. I was going to call, let's not call Scott an idol, but, a contemporary there. We got Wollaston down in New Orleans, who will always remind you that he was on that Lakeside stage. But the point being is, these players that you've matured around and seen, the path before you from the U.S. and specifically from the South head to Lakeside. How does that make you feel taken in this iconic facility?
It's unreal. And I've said in one of my interviews, it's been a dream of mine to get onto that stage pretty much ever since I started playing. Back in '96, and I was like 21 then. I did take some time off, for work and all that. So I had about 6-7 years I didn't play. But coming back, I always started playing tournaments again. And to finally make that stage was, like I said, it was a dream come true. And to see the pictures in there, which some of them were gone, but I tried to get a picture of all the, North Americans that I could, the ones I found. I'm pretty sure I didn't leave anybody out. And Yeah, the history of that place is unreal. One security guards, they took me around and, talked about, not just darts, but, the history of that place over the years. The Royals if you wasn't in London back in the day, that's where you were at. That was the place to be. The Beatles played there, all kinds of um, entertainers. The Royals were there all the time. It was amazing to see the pictures and the history of that place.
So now we get to the darts. We're rolling in. We're hitting the Aki, and Jason comes out, house on fire. Round of 32, round of 16, the 11 seed. You don't drop a set in those 2 rounds. Throwing high 80s, close to 90 in those. So carrying over that World Masters feeling, feeling good in those early rounds.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it was. I'm gonna be honest with you because I had to go back and watch to see some of the first 2 matches for the most part. Thinking about it were a blur. It was. I dropped 1 leg in the first round, 2 legs in the next, or 3 legs in the next one. But it all went by so fast, and it's hard to describe. I had to, like I said, I had to go back and watch the match to see, to remember everything that went on. But I remember above anything, I was hitting my doubles very well in the first 2, and actually half of the third one too, and then I kind of fell off in that match. But no, it was
a lot going on. Sure, like this is between the walk on, the new, a new event, some the lights, and all getting used to it. And they're going in, right? So it's like, well, they're last 32 done, last 16 done, and so now you're facing in the quarters the 2022 WDF champion in Neil Duff. So before we get to what happened in that quarters, so where are you feeling mentally? 2 wins under your belt, and we're playing certainly one of the favorites in the contest.
Oh yeah, I felt really good. I can't say that I wasn't nervous at all. I come out, I fired in just the first 3 sets just like I did the previous nights. I felt great. I heard his interview the night before, and it didn't really, he's a confident player, and I can't say it didn't spur me on, especially after I won the first 3 sets. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to drop a set on this one either. But you know what happens there, and I don't know if I let my foot off the gas, a little bit or what, but I still had shots to win at 4-0, had shots to win at 4-1, and then it just kept slipping away. And
as Jason's let you in, Jason goes up big, and everybody. It looks like he's going to go through another round without dropping a set. But in all fairness, this is a seasoned veteran. He is a champion. He knows what it's like to be the last man standing on that Lakeside stage. So Duff pushes you, but eventually 4-3 to you. Good averages for both of you guys. But I think if I'm not mistaken, Phil, remind me in your post. You see him coming back, but you're still confident. You're like, I'm still in a good position here, even as things start to go his way a little bit. Like just the right spots. I've still got this. Oh
yeah. At 3-0, I have a shot to win I think we went all 7 sets, and 6 of the 7, if I'm not mistaken, maybe 5, but at least 5 or 6 of the 7 went all 5 legs. And, I had the shot to win. This is one of the things I was telling some other people. There was, in that match, as long as it went, there's only, excuse me, there's 3 shots that stick out to me. Busting the 70 in the 4th set to win the match, and then he checks the 48 or whatever to win that set. And I'm thinking, all right, it's just 1 set, it's fine, get it right here. Then I missed the 47 in the next set to win the match. I hit 7 and then just shoot it way too high at the double. He checks it next shot to win that set. And I'm like, all right, you still got 2 more. Just, all right, you get your throw, get it right here. And, of course, that one slips away. And the two shots, like I said, I was going back to, I'm sorry, two shots I remember was the 70 that I busted to lose that set, the 47 to lose that set, and then the 148 that I took out in the seventh set to.
That's where we all want. That's where we all wanted to go next. You know, a couple of comments from the chat.
The three shots that I remember.
Tom W says Southern Comfort did the USA proud. And then, we hear from Benny Amadei in Philly. He says, I was lucky enough to catch all of Jason's matches at the Lakeside. That 148 was by far my favorite of the event. And it was, we talked about it at the time. It was an Americana shot. Like, Jason, that shot in that spot is, when we continue to put together highlight reels of big American dart moments, that, my friend, is in with your 148.
Yeah, and that came out of nowhere because I was struggling, for the last, I wouldn't say I was struggling too bad scoring, but, my doubles were sporadic at best. And I actually went down 2-0 in that deciding set. And I thought, man, that's when it started hitting me like, man, you have let this thing slip away. You have
there's a lot of American dart fans whose nails are just barely growing back after that one, my friend, going down 2-0. Yeah. You got lots of people chewing off their fingernails.
And then, I held my throw. I'm like, all right, you break and hold and you got it. You get out of this and you got it. And then he's sitting on the 170 and I'm sitting on, it's bad that I can remember this, like I said. He's sitting on the 170. I'm sitting on the 148. And he hits 81 to leave 89. And, the way and it all went so quick, but it was like as soon as that first dart went into triple 20, it was sitting perfect. As soon as it hit, in my mind, I'm saying, all right, this is gone. It's absolutely gone. I've got it. I threw the second one. It pulled right in beside it. And then I popped the double 14. And another thing is I'm not very animated when it comes to dart shots. Most time I hit my shot, I go up to the board, I come back. I'm just quiet. I was a little animated on business.
Just a little bit, and rightly so. I don't think there was anybody begrudging you some emotion on that 148.
I know Jeff Springer was talking about how loud he was hollering in the back, and the crowd went crazy. But it was kind of quiet, and you hear them. You hit the first strip 20, you hear the crowd go, oh. Then the second one goes in, and you hear, oh. And then, when the double went in, I said, come on. I yelled, and crowd was screaming. Neil Dove, he smiles, gives me a fist bump and everything. And,
I'm getting chills just having you explain it to us. It's awesome.
But, and then I had to start, and I was fortunate enough to hold my throw. And I'm not, to me, that 148 flipped the momentum right back to me for that last leg.
It certainly did. So so Neil Duff gets put away, and now we're gonna have a clash in the semis with Paul Lim. So for those who didn't follow the event, as U.S. fans, North American fans are following Jason intently, as we all should, but then there's this parallel story going on. Paul Lim, 70 years of age, as my friend Peter Cetera likes to say, rolling back the years, and he's just going round through round, and bringing that Lakeside stage to its feet. 30 years from the last time he graced the stage. 34 years, I guess it would have been, from when he hit the one and only 9-darter against Jack McKenna in that particular World Championship. So all of this sort of history oozing, and for us here in the States, we do have some sort of we have a kinship with Mr. Lim. First off, he is, we talk about some names. Jason's one of them. Who else have we talked tonight? Jim Long, guys that are just, nobody's got a bad word about them in the sport. And Paul's one of them. Paul's a guy who has traveled in and out of this sport on both steel tip and soft tip, and has just been an ambassador and a great gentleman, and he's got family out in California. He when he hit that 9-darter, it was with the double eagle on his back, so Paul's done a lot in and around this nation, so he's represented a lot. So there is a sort of, we still all root for Paulie Lim. So that was the sort of side story, right? And so what are you seeing there? You're taking care of your business, but you got to know what else is going on too, right?
Oh yeah, 100%. I messaged Chris the day before, talking about me playing Paul and everything. And I
His
said, I
son
kind of wish,
Christopher Lim,
yeah, Chris
Lightning
Lim.
Lim.
I wish we were on the opposite sides of the bracket so we could have met in the finals instead. But it didn't. Of course, it didn't work out like that. And oh yeah, I love Paul. I hadn't seen him, I hadn't seen him in years actually, probably. But I had talked to him, when I first got there, and I got video. I told him I've got a video of him with a match at Roger Carter back from 1999 in Vegas at
Yes.
North America.
Yep.
Playing in the finals on stage, Roger's going for a perfect cricket game for a $50,000 bonus. And I've got it on old videotape. I got it on camcorder. And it was my first time out there in Vegas and seeing all those guys. John Lowe was out there, Peter Manley. It was amazing. But Paul's been playing at that level, God, since way before I started playing darts, and love Paul to death. And I knew coming in, which it didn't bother me. Everybody's talking about the pace of play, and I had my plan. I was going to sit back like I do, just fiddle with my darts. Just if I had to fiddle with them a little longer, I had to fiddle with them a little longer. And he walks up, and then I walk up and do my throw. It's still hard to get in the rhythm, but that is what it is. I just never could get it going. And I still wasn't throwing bad. That's one thing I told my wife. After that match, I felt like I played really, really bad. And Paul played really, really good. But we were actually really close stat-wise.
Yeah.
The difference was...
Yeah, it wasn't the score line in sets make it look like the way. In fairness, the truth is the truth. It was 5-0 in sets to Paul. But like you said, in and around those sets, there was competitive moments.
Yeah. And I was 3 for 27 on doubles. And I dropped 14 straight legs in the middle of that match. And 10 of those legs, I went back and looked because I'm a stat nerd. 10 of those, I had multiple darts at doubles. So if I hit doubles the way I was hitting them in the first 2 matches, you probably flip that score line, and I'm probably winning it. Maybe not 4-0 or 3-0, but maybe 3-1, 3-2, something like that. And who knows? And I wasn't far from the doubles. So some of them I was looking, I don't see how they wasn't in. They were all up there touching the wire. And I just didn't have it that night, and Paul did. And of course, the crowd's on his side, which has to be expected.
That was just from a Lakeside crowd standpoint. That was the story of the week, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger.
Oh yeah.
And you talked earlier, that like we touched on it. That's a little bit of this game. It's the stuff that were in the arsenal against Neil Duff. Just all of a sudden, you put your hand in the pocket, and it's like, what happened? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Jason's getting a little feedback, and that was my producer letting us know that. So, it is. So if it is what it is, we're almost going to wrap up. So we'll. Is there any way to fix that, Jeff, or just turn down your speaker just a little bit so we don't hear it as much?
How's
But
that?
you also got to hear me. That should be good.
Okay.
So one thought that we were talking about just that the thing about darts is just for one night to the next is just it's a completely different evening. But let's put a cap on your experience. What was it like to have you got Paula Murphy there and Kevin Luke, Jeff Springer, and you guys they're there for you, and you guys were rooting on Paul, and what was it like to have such a great crowd and of crew of support for each other?
Yeah, that was great. We hung out with those guys, for a few days before they started heading back, and Jeff actually changed his flight to stay an extra couple of nights to watch mine and Paul's match. And I told him afterwards, I was like, well, I'm sorry I didn't give you a better performance there, but, hey, you still got Paul winning. So either way, you got one guy in the finals. One of us in the finals. I will say one more thing, though, going back. It's like what we were talking about, how you just have it one night and the next night you don't. and I'm hitting wires. I'm just on the wrong side of them. But, to put it in perspective, we're throwing at targets and we're missing by millimeters from 8 feet. And, that's, you can't adjust for that. You can't, it's just you either own it or you're, you just got to keep throwing through it. And
just keep throwing it. Bobby George said it's an easy game to play, but it's a tough game to play well. Like it's millimeters.
Oh, yeah.
You're right, man. Like for the layman, you just tell them you're throwing a pencil from 8 feet away, and you've got to hit a dime on a wall. It's a tough thing to do.
Right. Yeah,
that's a tough thing to do.
But man, overall, going back to what you'd asked, going back the support overall, not just from the Americans that was there, not from Paula, Kevin, and Jeff. For the most part, the crowd was great. I never had any issue at all with the crowd. They chanted USA. They were, I had rooters in the crowd. People, it was a great crowd. It really was. Great atmosphere. Great atmosphere.
So as we laid out there, Paul Lim moves into the final where he played Shane McGurk, and it happens to everybody. Just like Jason, one round to the next. There you go. Now all of a sudden, Paul Lim is there on Sunday, and the magic dust that he seemed to have all week just wasn't there. He was playing, probably the favorite, if not the one of the 2 or 3 favorites in the event, in Shane McGurk, and Shane threw a solid 90 average in a 6-3 win to raise the Lakeside championship, and and the magical run of Paul Lim ended that Sunday. And we also saw Bo Greaves win her 3rd consecutive women's Lakeside championship. So congratulations to Bo and Shane, or I think, as they said, Shane McGurk's nickname is Arrow. So Bo and Arrow take Lakeside. So before we close the segment, Jason, if there's anything you want to put into context about, what this year was like for you, also a little look into, goals, aspirations as we look towards 2025.
Let's see. Obviously, overall, the year has been great. It's been a huge success, making it to the Masters again, making it to Lakeside. It was my first time. Tournaments throughout the year were kind of up and down. I'd get my wins, and of course, I had my losses. CDC, I missed a couple of weekends. One was by choice to go to Charlotte because I was sitting pretty well in the WDF standards and in the standings, and it ended up it worked out. It worked out perfect. This year is going to be a little different. I'm going to try to hit all the CDCs. I'm going to try to hit the WDFs that I can. I'm going to try to make it back to Lakeside. Obviously if I can. I'm still sitting real well for that, as a matter of fact. But we'll see how the whole year plays out from that. I'm looking forward to it. I'm got Vegas in a few weeks and to get started on next year, and we'll see how it goes. But I can't wait for the CDC to start. I'm looking forward to the MSG qualifiers. I want to get back on that stage at MSG. That's one of my goals, is to hit that again.
And we're working behind the scenes. We're waiting on a couple of green lights, and we do have some things sketched out. So hopefully we can get that out before the end of the year. And if you want to sign up for the CDC newsletter, there is your QR code. Let's see the other info. You can go to champdarts.info/in-the-know. You can sign up for the newsletter for all of the special offers and discounts from all of our manufacturers, and keep up on everything. So, Jason, I want to say thank you for going through Lakeside with us. That was phenomenal. We are all just thrilled with everything that you did, and thank you for the ride, and we wish you nothing but the best in 2025. So with that down, let me just look at our little rundown here and kind of confer with Mr. Jeff. Do we have any other? All right, let's promo. We'll promo New York, and then we'll talk about Q schools a little bit. So as Jason talked about, Jason, how in just a quick 2 sentences, I mean, how amazing was it to hit the stage at MSG? What an atmosphere, huh?
that was absolutely unreal. It's words can't hardly describe it. To see 3,000, I don't remember how many, 4,000 people. There might not have been that many, but it felt like there was about 4,000 people there. Uh, the atmosphere was amazing, and the PDC guys, they were incredible. They were and the PDC itself, they were accommodating with everything. They really they've got their stuff. They've got their stuff together. They know what they're doing.
So, as Jason said, like it's been an amazing atmosphere. It's grown from year to year. So, if you want to join us, the PDC returns June 27th to 28th for the US Darts Masters and the PDC North American Championship. You can check out tickets, pdc.tv/tickets. And let's bring Jeff back in for a second. Jeff has seen the madness that is the U.S. Masters, and what would you tell somebody that to compel them to join the PDC in New York City at the end of June?
Well, it's a party, no doubt about it. I mean, I was lucky enough to go into the production truck and see it from that aspect, and that is what really tickles my berries. But then getting out there on the floor and having a couple beers and watching you guys get up there and sling those arrows, it's something I hope that John Q. Public really picks up in the United States, because it is really sometimes like a great get together, and then there happen to be darts up there if you're not into the darts themselves. So it's really cool.
Yeah, I talked to somebody in the crowd, and I was like, what brings you here? And there were some young guys that said, just, I love watching it on YouTube. And other guys said, it's just the atmosphere. It's this place is nuts. We're having a great time. So you really don't want to miss it. So get your tickets, because they are going to go fast. We do think that there's going to be a sellout. So don't miss out June 27th, 28th. At the theater at Madison Square Garden. So with that down, let's touch on quickly our last little organized segment, and that is to discuss the CDC Q School Series, which just got underway at the Buckeye Open December 13th. And we had an amazing field of players that we saw. 8 players earned their tour card to compete on the championship dart circuit. Joe Cheney, Jeremiah Millar, Mike Brooks, Davey Main, Doug Crow, Robert McCoy, Mike Walterman, and Chris McHarg. Those are the 8 players that came through. Obviously, some of those players are names that we've known from the CDC prior, so happy to have them back in the mix. Players that have put in the time and the effort. One name that jumps out at me, Davey Main. Last year, we implemented the new associates list, which was players that didn't earn cards, but yet if there were opportunities to play, Davey came in. It was a chance to not only fill the field out, but to give these players like the glimpse, like, can I really compete? And, we saw, that fire in Davey's eyes, and he's now a CDC tour card holder proper. So congrats to those 8 players. If you want to learn more about the Q School Series, go to champdarts.com, and under the events, you'll see the Q Schools. The next one is January 10th at the Greater Philadelphia Open. And these are, this is the only way for you to come and play on the championship dart circuit. You need a card, or you need to have played in these Q School events and the Summer Series, earn points, and become on the associate list and get an opportunity. So get out there and compete. So I want to ask Jason in this spot. So now, what advice? Obviously, there's some guys in there with some, more or less experience, but overall, and including your daughter. You mentioned, your daughter joined the circuit last year, going to come out. What sort of advice, or what should players expect when they're coming out to play in the championship dart circuit?
The competition is, unlike, it's the best of the best, in the U.S. It's hard to explain, but you really have to be on your game in every match, or you're gonna get left behind, basically. And you know, it's well run. The competition is fierce. It's the closest thing we have to. It is what we have. It's the only thing we have that's professional. Getting ready for the professional level, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. It brings everybody together, I guess,
and it's our goal to continue that, is to add, and that's what I said. Even though I know people clamoring for specifics, but we're trying to even take a next step and increase prize monies and increase opportunities and increase the chances to play. So Jeff, Jeff's a player just like we all are, loves this game. What do you see on the circuit now that you've been somebody who's been able to see behind the scenes, and also, what should these players expect when they come out and compete on the circuit?
Everyone's A game. That's what you got to expect, and you got to be prepared to, I guess, focus on your own darts, not worry necessarily about what they're throwing, and take it leg by leg. As an amateur, that's kind of how I take it, and going back to that 180 that was thrown earlier. I didn't have a partner, so I absolutely would have gone for it. If I had a partner, then it's a different strategy, because I don't want to screw them by potentially leaving them, a bad out. Mm-hmm. But when it comes with these guys that I see, I mean, the competition is top notch, and I'm lucky enough now to be streaming on several different formats. And whether it's steel tip, whether it's soft tip, these guys and gals know how to throw. And they'll eat your lunch if you're not ready for it. So unless you just want to have a good time, you better start practicing.
Thank you, gentlemen. In the chat there, Jeff Springer, who is a CDC card holder, says the family feel on tour is incredible, and you see that. You see that people get to know each other, and out of the respect of competition, everybody knows how hard we're working here. To be the best of the best on the continent, and that just sort of earns respect and friendship. So, with that, I want to go to. I so appreciate both of my contributors for joining me tonight. I want to give them a chance to close things out, and then I want to impart some of my personal thoughts. So, first to my man, the producer, Mr. Jeff, just, anything about tonight. Thank you so much for sitting in with me tonight, and, your thoughts on, what 24 has been, and then maybe what we hope to see in 25.
I feel like one of those anchors that come on during the holidays when everyone else is gone and they're scraping the bottom of the barrel. So happy to be here tonight, both in front and behind. 2024 has been a very interesting year for myself in the dart scene in particular. We started up the Dart Players of Connecticut, myself and a couple of other buddies. We just finished the last event last weekend. We're going into our finals in January. I would like to say that I did have a friend who suffered a medical issue during that tournament, Chris Smith, and he is in the hospital right now, going through some tough times. So we're all, praying for him to get better.
Thank you, Jeff. I'll let you finish, but I know just take a second, because that's a big, but that goes back to what I talked about with that Jeff's talk about what the dart community at its heart is, and it's a family, and we've seen the dart community step up and hold up our fellow members of the community, and I've seen how much the outpouring of concern for Chris, and we all certainly convey our best wishes for Chris for a speedy recovery. But kudos to the overall dart players, and the dart community steps up
and
for charity, for
100%.
When people need them, they're there.
Well, and I will say, both from soft tip and from steel tip, it's almost like a traveling carnival. You're always seeing the same people over and over at the different stops, and everybody becomes a family, and they all become friends as well. So, in closing for me, I'm just excited to be a part of all this, and, love, hug, and kiss your friends and family, and have a happy holidays, and see you in 2025.
Thank you very much, Jeff. I appreciate that. So, Mr. JB, Jason Brandon, give us a cap on things for this evening, and thank you very much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. This year has been, like I said, it's been unreal, and looking forward to 2025, and wish everybody happy holidays, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody, after the new year, and we'll go from there. And I enjoyed it. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Thank you both for joining. And Jason, I know it's getting late in your neck of the woods, so if you want to go, you can. Thank you, Jeff. If I may be so bold, please give me an ISO as I want to. This is an editorial, something that I've been chewing on for a while, and I thought year-end show in a way that I want to take an opportunity to express it. And again, this is an editorial. This is Anthony Eugenia. These are my thoughts and my feelings, and they do not represent the show per se or the greater company that's behind this show. I just want to convey a few things about the dart community. This is all positive. This is not sort of anything negative. I've had a thought that, when we see players achieve what we almost see as the pinnacle in that getting a PDC tour card, they go off on a road, and it's at times it almost feels like it ends at the shore. It ends at JFK as they head over to Europe, and I'm sort of putting out a dictate to the dart community, like a challenge. I want to see maybe even a little more support, I want to see more support, period, in that, these are players that, have gotten to what we all feel is a dream. And I'd like to see more communities put their energies and their resources in backing these players. I was part of a forum years ago. Great ideas on, a forum financially kind of backs a player, and you put together a little stake, and you kind of let that, you're sponsoring that player. You look for a player that, that needs a little help, that's lower in the rankings. That was a PDC professionals at the time. But even I even got so excited about it as a fan. It's back when I was just a flat out fan that, I went up and talked to the player in Vegas at the Vegas Desert Classic. I was like, hey, I'm part of such and such forum, that we put together some funding and we kind of help back you. And it's exciting to follow you like that. So I want to propose and push people to do things like that with the players that we have going overseas, right? I love the idea as a fan. I know I would have enjoyed, getting to see players from overseas come over. I'm not looking to take any money out of anybody's pockets, but I know from time to time, different areas of the country put on nights and host people. That's awesome, but I'd like to see it additionally expanded to the players that are homegrown here in North America, the Canadian players, the U.S. players that earn cards, head overseas. And not only just overseas, but also say with the CDC, player locally earns a CDC tour card, and that he's, he's a great guy, or he's one of the top shots in your area. So it's going to be a big deal for that player to represent your region, your pocket of the country. And I'm just sort of spurring on a little bit of pride, but pride from the pocketbook, if you will. As a fan, I always felt that, the best way I could support the sport that I loved was through my consumer dollars. So it was, somebody wrote a book, I'm going to pick it up. Somebody's got a DVD out, an instructional, I'm going to pick it up. Active about that. Buy a ticket to an event. So I want to encourage that. And I want to remind people as we try and build the spectator part of this here in North America, that you count, you matter. I mean, you always matter, but I want to tell you why. Your numbers matter. You join us here on the stream, it matters. You watch our weekend broadcast, it matters. You tune into the Cross-Border Darts Challenge, it matters. If we're at the Continental Cup and we put tickets up for sale, it matters. You may not think your one ticket matters, but it really does. it's a big difference to go to a company and say, we sold 250 tickets and filled the room and it was insane, or we had 72 in the room. There's a big difference, and each individual can really play a large part in that. So I just want to support the players that we all love and look up to and admire. And I just want, the darting community to just take that little more, because we really are on the verge. And I say we as the company I'm involved in, we as the player base that we've put together that comes out and competes, their heart out, event to event. It means the spectators and the fans that pay attention online, that follow the stats via Dart Connect. We as a dart community are on the verge of something simply great in 2025. We can make it happen as a group. And that's all you're going to hear from me on my little editorial. All right. So give a heartbeat for that. Take a pause. So before we close the show, I just want to remind everybody, now that was serious. We're going to get even more serious. From a holiday perspective, it dawned on me today as we were doing the show, that it is the holidays. Okay. And, we talked about the dart community being there for each other. People are there for you. As we get into the holidays, it gets a little tough. There are moments where things don't feel so great. I just want to remind everybody that there is hope. There is a solution. Those dark corners where you think you might go with drugs or alcohol or even further about harming yourself, those are not the solutions. There are people that love you. We love you. And there's a reason and a purpose that you're in this world. And always remember that through this holiday season, all right? There's people that love you. You've got love to give. So give it, get it, and keep it embraced in your heart. All right. We're going to close with that. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, other holidays if you celebrate those, and certainly and truly a very happy New Year as we go into 2025. Thank you all for watching.
Thanks for joining us for Shootin' the Bull, the official podcast of the Championship Darts Circuit. Subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode, and follow us at Champ Darts on social media to keep up with all of the latest news on North American darts.